Hi everyone. Today we are going to be working with PFAFF circular attachment. I'm just going to finish this up real quick. How's everyone doing? So welcome. Today we are going to be playing with the PFAFF new circle templates for the circle attachment. And as you can see, I was just kind of doing an old-fashioned circle. So I'm just going to do a quick review on the circle attachment. And Meredith, are we still not getting camera? But we're going to go ahead and do a quick review on the circle attachment. And I'm going to show you the new stuff. All right. So for those of you that are not familiar, the circle attachment is an attachment that attaches to the bed of your sewing machine, right? And it'll snap right into, there's two little holes right here, and this just snaps right in to the two little holes. And there is a push pin that comes with it. Any push pin will do. So if you lose your push pin, do not panic. Any push pin will do. Now, to know whether or not your sewing machine is suitable for the circle attachment, or whether the circle attachment fits your sewing machine, you can go to PFAFF.com and download the accessory guide. So once you've downloaded it, I love it because you can search it. But you can look right on page 4 and 5, and you can look to see what brand of machine you have. And I do believe the circle attachment is, you can search. It's so easy. And the circle attachment fits J, K, and L. So you can take a look and see if you have a J, K, or L. All right? All right, back to me. All right, so just a quick review of the circle attachment. There's the push pin. It will go all the way up to 26 centimeters, which is about 10 inches. So you can make quite large shapes and circles. I'm just going to keep it small for this little presentation. And because I've already done a circle, I'm just going to do another circle right next to it. So the pin goes in where you want it to go, and then the pin sets into the hole that is the circular attachment. I think I keep calling it the circle attachment, but it's the circular attachment. I'm going to trim this up. And this here, you can do applique as well, which is what I did here. One of the things when I do applique is I will fuse a fusible webbing to the back of my fabric and then peel that off and then stitch it down. And then with my handy dandy PFAFF applique scissors, I trim it away, and then I will do a decorative stitch around the outside. But then when I press it, it does tend to sit tight rather than peel up. Sometimes it'll, I know with me, I love to do my satin stitch extremely narrow, so they like to peel up. But as you can see, with the pin in place, it will just sit here and do a circle. And I do kind of pet my fabric as I go along. I am using a stabilizer. This one is a very, very lightweight stabilizer. It's the old Inspira Stitch and Ditch, but a very lightweight stabilizer. think it's time to change my needle. One of the things, just a side tip, shredding thread, breaking thread, skipping stitches, puckering fabric, those are all signs of an old needle. So that was one. If I get another break, I'm going to definitely take that as a sign as my needle needs to go. So I do not need to use a hoop. No, this is ideal if you do not have an embroidery machine and you want to make these fun shapes. You can also use it if you have an embroidery machine because it is quite fun to play with. And I'm going to switch to a more decorative stitch just for time. So we'll have something that'll stitch a little quicker here for you guys. Hold on, doesn't want my integrated dual feed on. Yeah, so it's definitely time to change my needle, which I will do as soon as we are done. I'm trying to help it, and that is not a wise choice. All right. This is why you don't want to help it. I like sharing my mistakes because that's how we learn. But this is why you don't want to help it. Because as soon as I stop letting the feed dogs feed the fabric through, I start getting interference. But here at the beginning, you'll see where I'm like, there's stitch holes but no thread. And I also shredded a thread. So whenever that happens, like I said, the first time I will tend to kind of go, okay. The second time, it's like time to change my needle. So I'll change my needle right quick. I've been a busy bee this morning, I guess. Okay. So I've got a couple questions. So you don't need a hoop. No, do not need a hoop. Can you share the brand of fusible web that you have? If you check with your local dealer, they usually have the better fusible webs. And there's different brands that are all good, and it just depends on your local dealer on what they will carry. But I do prefer what the dealers tend to carry versus what the chain stores tend to carry, just an FYI. But there's any kind of fusible web really will work. But the dealers tend to carry a lighter weight, so I like those. But yeah, just check with your local dealer and see what they have and tell them what you're working on, and they will often hook you up with a suitable fusible web. Okay. Now I'm gonna put this back in. And we're gonna try this again. I'm gonna try a different stitch just because. Yeah, let me do. And I'm just gonna do this. I did choose a different stitch. All right, now it's time to check my bobbin. I'm not stitching backwards. All right. Don't you love it when the instructor has an issue? Because you get to troubleshoot. So what's happening is still not making a nice stitch. So because I had the needle issue, I did change my needle, but I'm also going to rethread since I had the needle issue, and it's still giving me, it just tells me that the needle issue created another issue. And And this is why I recommend to change your needles regularly. Start every new project with a new needle. This would have all been avoided if I sat down to do this and remembered to put in a new needle. But like I said, I was busy this morning and got a little. And for those of you that think changing your needle isn't important, do yourself a favor, start changing your needle regularly. It'll make you feel like you have a brand new sewing machine. It's pretty amazing. All right, let us try this again. I'll put my feed back on. So I've changed my needle, I've rethreaded my bobbin, and I've rethreaded. There we go. But as you can see, this is just creating a circle. Still trying to help it. All right. So that is the circle attachment. So, whoops, I did not go all the way down. But if you have not used the circle attachment before, it is really, really fun. So this is operator error. Change your needle before you start. So before you start any new project, change your needle. So what I want to do is I want to show you the new templates. And I want to show you some of the fun stuff you can do with the new templates. So if you look behind me over my shoulder here, there's a new tulip template. And you can't quite see the top of it, but there's a little piece here that's kind of pink. And then there's new leaves that you can choose from. And then there's the hearts to choose from. And so it's just been reminded to me is if you're noticing that when I finish, I pull my thread, I'm not cutting it with the thread cutter because the thread cutter is not recommended for this. And I'll show you why. So basically what happens is these set in here nice and securely, but these little prongs will go down through this plate. And as the needle threader comes along, it tends to scrape along that. So when you're using this, you want to remember not to use your thread cutter. Now, some of us will put tape on our thread cutter. So we'll put a little piece of tape so we don't accidentally cut it. However, if you use these enough, you remember. Because whenever I use it, I remember because I've learned the hard way. All right. Whew. Any questions? A little chaotic there at the beginning. All right. So here is the new templates. I just want to make sure you guys can see them before I start moving my camera all over the place. So this is the new templates. So there's 3 here to choose from. This is the tulip, which I had mentioned. We have the heart and we have the leaves. And if you notice here, there's 2 kinds of leaves. We can do our skinny leaves or our big fat leaves. So either kind of leaf that you choose to do, we can do. All right. Now, when you first look at these little guys here, they are a little scary looking, but they don't need to be. Because once you just follow the instructions, which I'll show you, all of a sudden they make sense. Yeah, when I first pulled this one out, I was like, oh my goodness. But it is quite easy. So let me show you the instructions. Okay, I'm going to show you how to mark and everything to get started to make it easier on yourself. Once you've done one, it's a piece of cake. But there are some tips that will make it a little easier for you. So the first thing that I'm going to do is it wants me to lay my marks. So I'm going to use this. Is what this 10 stands for is it's like that's the position they're starting with. You can do whatever you want, which I'm going to do a size 8, but you could do any size that you want. So what we're going to do is I'm going to come on down here. I'm going to move this just a bit. See if I can get this a little straighter. I just don't want anybody getting seasick. Oops, still. I know we rehearsed this, but there we go. So what I'm going to do here is if you take a look at the instructions, it's showing you all the highlighted points that it wants you to mark. So that is what I'm going to do here. And I'm going to do the 8. So what I'm going to do, first thing it wants to do is I'm going to go ahead and mark the bottoms. So it's showing us here that it wants one in the center and then one on each side. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to mark in the center. And I'm actually going to go ahead and do the 10. The 8 is not on here. Okay, so I've got the 3 bottoms. The next 2 it wants is there's these part here. And I'm going to go ahead and mark the 10 on these. And you'll see them here, the 10 here. And then I'm going to come up and I'm going to mark the size, the point size of the tulip leaves, which will be here as 10 and here at 10. So are you guys following me so far? And then I have the 3 in the top. So I have my 10 mark. It's going to come here. So I've got my 10, and my 10. So you got it? So I've marked my 10 here. I've marked my 0, my 10, my 10. I followed this up and I've marked my 10 mark here and my 10 mark here. And then I followed this over to mark my 10 mark here, here, and here. And then in the little V here, I've marked my 10s as well. All right. So now what the next thing is showing you that it's going to look like this, but we're going to draw some lines. So that is what I'm going to do here is these are my 2 lines that are going to get drawn. So I'm just going to use my template and just mark along that line. And I'm just going to mark along that line. And here, everything is also labeled. So that is what I'm going to do. And this is what I did the first time was I put a big old B there and an A. Okay. And then the next ones are the D and the C. So I put a D and a C. So like I said, the first time we do this, this is what I'd recommend. Just do it on some scrap fabric and just mark everything to make it easy. Once you've walked through it, all of a sudden everything starts making sense. Okay. These are the heat away pens. So these do mark iron away, but do use a water soluble no matter what, or a temporary marking pen. Do not use a ballpoint pen. All right. So I'm going to grab my single layer fabric and I'm going to grab my stabilizer. And I am just using a tearaway stabilizer. I am going to just go to a straight stitch for this. Okay. So what I'm going to do here, if you look at the instructions, once again, it's going to say, see this guy right here? That is the push pin. So we're going to put the push pin into the A position, and I'm going to start at the 0 down here. So let me show you. I'm going to move this over so you can see a little better. Okay. So this little guy, I'm going to just go ahead and flip over. I'm going to move this to the 10 millimeter position because that's what I marked. And I'm going to come in here and put that pin into the A position. So this A position, And I'm going to come under here and pop it into the hole. And I'm going to start right here at my 0. Okay. And again, I'm going to pet my fabric as I go, but I do not want to push and pull like I was doing earlier. So I'm going to come up here and stitch around to this spot here. That's where I'm going to stop. So once I've come around and line up on that spot, this is another thing too. I have the needle down option set so that when I stop, my needle is in the down position. If you have an older machine that does not have that feature, it might be time to trade up to a machine that does, because that is the one feature that I absolutely cannot live without. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, once I've come to this part, my needle is down. I'm going to take the pin out, and it wants me now to stitch on the straight line. So I'm just going to come and stitch down the straight line. And I'm going to stop at the A. All right. I'm going to clip this out of the way just so you guys can see it. Now, I do recommend, there's a couple of feet that I like to work with when I work with these open, whether I'm doing applique or my templates. One is the open toe foot. This is the star, I forget the name of it. Help me out, guys. It is the sewing star foot. Thank you. But I like to be able to see what I'm doing. So this is the foot that I have on. All right. So as you can see, we've done this and we've come down and we've stitched to our A point. And now we're going to put the pin into the 0 point and just stitch around the bottom. This is where it gets fun. This is my 0. I'm going to pop him into the hole. And I'm just going to come around to the B side there. Okay. So I'm going to take the pin out because I'm just going to sew along that straight line. All right. And so the next one we did was we started with the position in the A. So now I'm going to come over here and put this into the B position and line that up with the hole again. And I'm just going to stitch down to the center. Okay. So remember, we do not want to use our cutter. So just going to pull it out and cut it off at the side. Let's see how we've made the tulip here. So now we're just going to make the top portion. And this is fine if this is all you want to do, but we're going to go ahead and do the top portion. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come and I'm going to pop this into that D position. We only have the 2 left. And wait a minute, I'm in the wrong spot. Yeah, I'm going to do, did I mark them wrong? No, I'm wrong. I'm moving this into the C position. There we go. So I was in the wrong position. I know I look like I'm all professional here, but I do get nervous being on camera. So there is that little bit of nerves that will sometimes pop up. So I'm going to come up to the center, and now I'm going to come over to the D. All I did was just go the wrong direction. And I'm going to come down to right, so hopefully you guys are, ooh, ah, wow. So once again, it is really easy once you've kind of walked through it. Any questions about that? So if you take a look here, this is what is here. I just did the applique. So I stitched down my fabric first, then with my applique scissors came back and trimmed it away, and then came back and did my satin stitch right on top of everything. Any questions? Are you guys all still there? And that one is this template here. So this is the most complicated. And as you can see, once you kind of just break it down, it really is quite simple. The important part is just labeling everything the first time. Okay. Now up here, I have the heart. The heart is the fun one, in my opinion. So let me get this back into a good position for you. There we go. Now, if you want to do, a little tip is if you want to do a row of stars the way, hearts the way I did, I just created a mark down the center. And when I went along, I made sure that this line here followed the center. So that way all of my hearts ended up in the right position. But I'm just going to go ahead and make one for you. So here we've got, again, a weird looking template that once you put it all together, it really does fall very easily. So again, we're going to start with the 0. I'm going to come down to my 10, and I'm just going to follow it around to my 10. And I'm going to go from my 10, I'm going to follow it around to my 10. And then these right here also need to be marked. So I'm going to mark my 10 and mark my 10. So you see here, I've got the 10, I've got the 10, I've got the 10, and I've got the 0. And again, I grab my stabilizer. And again, pull out the instructions because it will show you nice and easy how this goes together. Now, when it comes to this, once you've done it a few times, you will start doing your own thing. Like some of us will just stitch this first before we do anything else. The instructions actually have us do this curve and then go to the straight, but you'll find your own way to do it. But what I'm going to do is, again, I'm going to mark, and I just, again, use my template. Regarding the applique, I will answer that in a moment. As soon as I finish with this heart, I will come back and answer that. So Amy, don't let me forget, because it's a good question. So I'm going to just use my template and mark my lines here. Sorry, I was out of the camera view. All right. So as you can see, once you've marked those, all of a sudden it becomes less confusing. Now I just have the 3 dots. And the first dot we're going to do is we are going to just put it right into this center. This is why I tell you not to worry about if you lose the push pin, because I'm famous for setting things down and then can't find it later. I probably have about 20 of these underneath my sewing table. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pop this into this position. I will answer this one. So the circular attachment does come with a couple of templates with the attachment itself. These, you would just get the templates. And these 3 that I am showing you all come in the new template attachment, or the new template kit. So these are just the templates. These are not coming with the circular attachment. So you would still need to get the circular attachment, which has a bunch of templates. And these are just the templates that you can use with the circular attachment. So all of the part numbers and all of the information on this is in the, there's like a pinned description at the top. So all of that information is at the top in the description portion of the write-up. So everything's there. All right. Okay. So did that answer your question? I forget how many templates come with the original, with the circular attachment itself. I think there was 2 or 3, but there's definitely 3 here. Okay. So here I'm going to start at the 0 mark, which is in the center. I have my pin in one of the curves, and I'm just going to stitch around to the straight edge. So again, I'm just petting. I know it looks like I'm being manhandling, but I'm really just petting my fabric. And when I come to the straight line, I will just take the pin out, stitch down the straight line, give it a turn. I went a little off course. And once I come up here, I'm just going to put the pin in the remaining unstitched hole. Now, when it comes to removing the pinholes, I've had people ask me about that. Just a blast of steam. I'll show you too. A blast of steam will work. A little spritz of water, and when you iron it, that will also work. Let me just pull this off the back. What I tend to do is when I have the hole, I will just, as I'm ironing it, I will just kind of run my finger over it just a little bit, and it kind of puts those threads back together. So as I'm ironing it, I'll just give it a little scratch, just give it a little scratch on the back, and it usually pops them right over. Now, if you have something like leather or vinyl or anything like that, you can do it, but I would more recommend like applique and stuff so that you have the fabric on top of the hole when you're done, because you do have to be careful with the pins on non-woven fabrics. They will stay. Okay. Let me. Now, one of the cool things with this too is, this is where I pulled my stabilizer away. The other cool thing about this is, I mean, I did this with a straight stitch, but you can do your decorative stitches. You can use your fancy feet. So here I have a 12-weight thread, and here I use the yarn couching foot to create the template. And then I used a double-eye needle to pull the loose edges through to the back. There's all kinds of fun stuff that you can use. So feel free to use your embellishment feet, ribbons, etc. There's all kinds of fun stuff that can be done with this. So now let me go back to that applique question, because like I said, that was a good question. And here. So when I tend to do, let me pop off my fusible here. So when I tend to do a circle with the circular attachment, or applique, I should say. I'm going to pop you in. Put you down. All right. Sorry, so what I did here. So the question was, when you do applique, do you just do a, can you repeat that question here? So do you change a satin stitch on the applique and then just restitch it? So I'll show you what I do. And if you've ever done machine applique with a machine embroidery applique, this is where I kind of got this little trick. Is I'm just going to pop that in that hole right there. Pop this in. So what I tend to do is the first stitch that I will do, I tend to do a little bit of a zigzag. So depending on which machine you have, the higher you go, the more stitches you get. So I'm going to use the little knit zigzag stitch. So it is on your stitches. If you have it, you have your straight stitch, but it's this little, looks like a bolt of lightning almost. So your zigzag tends to go ziggy zaggy, and this kind of goes zig and then zag back up. So this is ideal for knits because it has some stretch, but this is the one that I tend to use. Okay. And so I'm just going to go stitch around the outside. I'm not going to do the whole thing just for time, but I'll let you get an idea. And the reason I use this stitch is because of the zigzaggy. If I tend to cut too much when I trim away the applique, I haven't cut all my stitches away. So here. So you see here where it's kind of a wider stitch than a regular straight stitch. And these are my favorite applique scissors. These are called the duckbill. There are, curved ones that you can use. There's all different kinds that are available. But these are my favorite because I can cut all the way up to my fabric without cutting my stitches. So really the only time I actually cut my stitches is when I go cheap or I grab whatever's near handy and it's the wrong scissor. But this one I can butt it right up against that fabric and it's not going to cut too far. So everything's kind of flat, but you can see how I can get right up there and not cut too far. I'm on the circular attachment, which is causing an issue. There we go. But you can see I can get right up there and cut really, really close. So then what I would do is from here, I would switch to a satin stitch or a decorative stitch or anything like that. So here I'm just going to go over to, and then I can just do my, and because it's already stitched down, I don't have to pet it so much. Now I did not make this smaller. I did not change the stitch in any way, but as you'll see. But see how now I've got a nice satin on that. Okay, so did that answer that question? Let me see what, there was another question that, on the icon 2, can you use the laser guides to do the straight sections? Absolutely. So the question is, so on the Creative Icon 2, on the PFAFF Creative Icon 2, we do have the lasers. So what she's asking is on the straightaway, can we just use the lasers? Absolutely. So let me show you how that works. So we put on the laser guidance. I'll give that a minute to line up. So if I just tell it I want to do a straight stitch, I can use my laser guidance right down the stitch. So absolutely you can do that. Okay. But not everybody has that. So marking it works as well. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, so 3 templates come with the circular attachment and 3 templates come in the new templates package. All right. think for the first time in my life, I'm actually doing okay on time. Excellent. All right, I'm going to show you last but not least, and hopefully I didn't jinx myself with that. Last but not least, I'm going to show you the leaves. So these are the leaves that are on this new template. I'm going to pop you over there. And I'm going to, oh, I sure did do that. So I just dropped my push pin. Like I said, I probably have 20 of them underneath my sewing table. All right. So these are the leaves. Whoops, can't see anything there. So this is the leaf template here. And as you can see, there's an image for skinny leaves or fat leaves. And when you look at the template as well, it is kind of giving you, can't see anything, let me move this, the different pointers. So when I'm doing the skinny leaves, I'm going to mark all these different positions. So A, B, C, and D. Whereas if I'm doing the fat leaves, I'm just going to be using the E here in the center. And let me show you. So here, you see here, these are all kind of labeled here. And then there's E. And then we go back into these. So again, if we're going to use the skinny leaves, we're going to be using these markings. And for the fat leaves, we're going to just use the E's. Okay? So we cannot use the cutter. But yes, you can use the needle threader. I'm okay with not using the cutter. I would not be okay with not using the needle threader. So if I thread the needle, you can see. But as you can see, I make sure that my pin is not there. I don't want anything in my way. So once I'm done, then I can put my pin in. But yes, the needle threader is a definite must. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and mark all of these. So the first, whoop, you can't see again. Change this back. There we go. All right. So what I'm going to do is there's the two on the side down here as well as this one. So these cannot be forgotten. Okay, so what length and width do you use for the satin stitch? That is a personal preference. Like I said earlier, I tend to like it on the narrow side, which is why I'm a big fan of the fusible webbing. But you can go wider and not use the fusible webbing. You can also do like a blind stitch hem if you want to make it look like needle turn, where you've turned the fabric beforehand. I have an applique. There's an applique Facebook Live, and I have an applique Facebook Live coming up where I'm going to go more into that. But I do think there is a Facebook Live on applique. I can't remember. My memory is getting old. All right, but I am going to, again, I'm going to kind of keep this in this framework here. So I'm going to mark this at, oh, stop. Now I'm starting to get the alarm clock here. So I'm going to go ahead and mark this. I am going to mark these. And I'm going to come up here and I'm going to mark my E. And let's say I want to do this at the B size. So I'm going to come and do this B size. Then I'm going to come here. I'm going to use a different pen because I'm also going to come here and I'm going to mark the skinnier ones. So just to keep myself not confused, I changed the color. All right. So the first thing that we're going to do here is I'm going to start at the 0. I'm going to move this out to about my 26. I'm going to start this at my 0. Okay, I'm going to change my needle position or my camera position so you can see a little better. All right, so I've moved this out to the 26. How did I know to move it to the 26? Because it told me. All right, so everything is here. You don't have to guess. So I'm back on a straight stitch. Okay, so I'm going to start at, when I do this, it's going to put me in this position. And I'm going to come around and I'm going to stitch past the two marks here, and I'm going to come on over all the way to my E mark, which is over here. You'll see it. So I'm going to come over. Wait a minute, let me double check myself. No, I'm in the wrong position. I knew something was up. So I'm going to, oh, sorry. I didn't mean to make everybody seasick. But because I changed course, I want to go back and show you what I'm doing. So that, because I don't want to confuse you guys. So here are my 3 marks at the bottom, my 2 marks at the top, and then I have the orange ones where I did the skinnier ones. So when we do this, we're going to flip this over, and I'm going to have my position in the far bottom one. And I'm going to start stitching at the center. That's where I got that. And let me change this so you guys can see. There we go. All right. So I'm going to come now and stitch up to the dot that's just out of position there. And I'm going to come on over. And make sure, because you see how the fabric is scooching in the back? When I do this on a real project rather than just demoing, I make sure that everything is clear, because anything that starts hitting on it is going to interfere with where you end up. And I'm off a little bit, and that had to do with this getting in my way. But I'm not going to worry about it just yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come and I'm going to, give myself a second to remember where I'm at. And I'm going to come back down to the where am I? Yeah, I'm confused. Don't mind me. There it is. Okay. Is it? No, this is it. Nope. All right, give me a minute, because all of a sudden I got a brain fart, because I've done this. I can't tell you how many times. Yes. All right. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. These are my 4 little marks. Nope, you still can't see. These are my 4 marks here. And this is where I was getting confused. So I need to make sure I'm in the right position here. Yes, so this is my 0. It's because I'm using that I'm getting confused. It's because I'm trying to do both at once, and that's why I'm getting confused. So I don't recommend starting with both at once. Get in there. Get in there, you little stinker. There you go. And then we're going to come over and move into this position. And we're going to come up to this position. Yeah, see how, because I got bumped early on, it's messing me all kinds of up. And then this one gets marked. 2. It's because it is one of those, I will tell you, make sure your stuff is clear. Because as you can see, I'll show you what's happening and why I'm getting kerfluffled. It's because when it came here, I got off. And then as it came down here, I'm off because it snowballed because of the when I did my first one and everything got caught up here and it threw everything off. So once it starts throwing everything off, it's going to snowball. And that's kind of what happened. So are there instructions? Yes, the instructions come with. And that's why I was trying to show you to work along with these with you, like especially this one. This one is in my opinion, the most confusing. So, but once you break it down, it's not confusing anymore. So it shows you where to mark, and then it's like that's step 1. There's step 2 to mark your lines. Step 3, you're going to put it into this position. So this is why this position is the letter. So this is why I recommended the first time you do this to mark it out and then label everything just the way they did. And then when you go through and work it through the first time, everything makes sense. So there's the A position, and then you're going to move it until straight. And then you're going to come down and put it into the 0 position and stitch around, etc. So it is very step by step. And the first time you do it, you do kind of walk through it step by step. But after you've done a couple of them, it really is, like I said, super easy. And when I say a couple, if you do like 1 or 2, all of a sudden it just starts clicking and making sense. There are, for some of us, it might take 4 or 5 times, or maybe even 10. But what I'm saying is it doesn't take long before it starts making sense. And the heart one is probably the one that I really would recommend you to start with. So when you get them, pull out the heart. This, in my opinion, is the easiest one. So give that one a go. And once you kind of see what they're trying to tell you, then jumping over to this guy is going to make a lot more sense. Or you could do like when I did. I pulled this one out and started with this one, going, if I can do this one and figure this one out, the rest are a piece of cake, which is what happened, except on camera is, I just got all kerfluffled. But are there any further questions? So which templates come with it? So the circular attachment, I thought I had them here, but apparently I have them in my circular attachment box. But the new templates come with 3. The circular attachment also come with 3, but they're more geared for just in the round. So there is quite a bit of designs you can do with leaves and flowers and stuff like that with the 3 templates that come with it. So there's 3 templates that come with it, and there's 3 templates that come with the new templates. So when you have the circular attachment and you get these, you'll have a total of 6 of these templates. Okay. These templates that come with it are the tulip. So here. So we've got the tulip, we have the leaves, we have the heart. Those are the templates that we have here. And like I said, the leaves you can do in 2 different shapes, the skinnies or the fats. And are there more templates planned for the future? Who knows? They're always surprising us with stuff. And one of the things that I will say is that they listen to the consumer. So if there's stuff that you guys want, let them know. So the next My Sewnet Live is Wednesday, March 8th. So this My Sewnet embroidery software is on March 8th at 2 p.m. and with Amy. And she's going to be doing Back to the Basics. So if you are new to the software or have been using it for a while but could use a refresher course, Back to the Basics is going to be fantastic. The next PFAFF Facebook Live is going to be Thursday, March 2nd, and it's going to be Nancy, who's going to be exploring the projection feature on the Creative Icon 2. So for those of you where you saw me use the projection, for those of you that may be thinking about it or already have it and want to learn more about it, either way, she's going to be exploring the projection feature on the sewing and embroidery, and that's on the PFAFF Creative Icon 2. So if there's any more questions, I think I have still a couple of minutes. If there's anything you want to see. Oh, I will show you real quickly since I have a couple of minutes. Because I mentioned the needle turn applique. So if you're unfamiliar with needle turn applique is exactly what it sounds like. It's hand sewing, which I would rather clean the toilet with my head, to be honest with you. But needle turn applique is where you take the needle and you flip the hem and hand stitch it down. Well, I do that kind of stuff by sewing machine. So I will give you a show of that. So you can use your let me get over here, put this here. You can use your blind hem foot. You can also use, I'm going to be using the bi-level foot. You can use your favorite foot. But what I do is I will actually switch to the blind hem stitch, and I will, I gotta change this position. And I usually will change my stitch width to make it quite skinny, and I'll change my stitch length to make it small. And one of the other things that we can do here is in the width, there is a little toggle, or if you touch right in the center, we get a different number. And this will allow me to take that whole stitch and move it over. So I'm going to go ahead and move that over. Because what I will do here, and normally I would prep this first, but I'm just going to show you. And so I don't know if you can see this. Let me see if I can get you in a little tighter. Here we go. So what's going to happen is it's going to run that little straight stitch, and then it's going to take a bite. And I'm going to move it over just a bit more because I want the little fold to rest against that little blade. And because I have the circular attachment off, I can use the cutter again. But now if you'll see here, So you end up with kind of that little hand-picked stitch look. Now, normally when I do this for real, I always match the background color because that is the rule when you do it by hand. And when it's all said and done, as you can see, it looks like a hand-picked stitch. It's so cool. You can also use like clear invisible thread as well, but I usually just, like I said, match the background. Not always, but usually. And so any other further questions? Like I said, there will be an applique class coming up, or a Facebook Live coming up, so we'll delve more into that then. But because I mentioned it, I thought I would show you. All right, so if there's nothing else, I think that will be it. And I want to thank you all for coming. And I will see you next time. Remember, Facebook Live, My Sonnet, March 8th, and Facebook Live projection on March 2nd. And I will see you all next time. Thanks. Bye.